Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spellbound, A Darker Shade of Black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. Yesterday I posted a video discussing sexism, heroines, and story paradigms. And in that video I detailed how story paradigms of men and women are different and how these story paradigms are pretty much unequal. And when I was discussing this video, I noticed that a lot of the responses I was getting, a lot of them from women were quite hostile and defensive. And I remember one post I posted on a Black Science Fiction Facebook group that was extremely hostile and extremely defensive when I was trying to discuss how these story paradigms were unequal and uneven. Because when I looked at these story paradigms, they clearly are two different models. And in the male model, we clearly see how the male in the character transformation arc goes from point A to being this person who is one way to becoming the person as a hero. However, in the female character transformation arc, we really don't see this female grow and develop in a way that pretty much is satisfying because she does not go through any sort of hardship. And when I pointed this out, some females got really hostile and defensive. And one particular on a Facebook group with Black Fantasy got so hostile, I just looked at it and said, this is disturbing because, again, you would think that you would want these story paradigms to be equal because in many cases with the males get stronger storylines, stronger character development, and because they get stronger storylines, stronger character development, the audience is able to identify with that character and relate to them. And because they can identify with and relate to them, these characters wind up becoming popular over time. However, because the females don't get this type of story paradigm, what happens is people know a little of them, but they really don't connect with them, identify with them, or care about them. And one of the things I pointed out about how there's a difference between the two is how the male characters go through all sorts of hardships and struggles in their journey to becoming a hero. And these females got, again, angry and defensive when I pointed that out, trying to make references to other characters like your Sarah Connors and your Ripleys and your Buffys and all these other characters, but these are the exceptions and not the rule when it comes down to female character transformation arcs. And we can look at the 21st century and really see how shallow the female character transformation arcs have gotten over time, because we can look at that Rey from Star Wars Episode 7, and again, she was clearly underdeveloped and was literally a Mary Sue, because when we compare her to Luke Skywalker and his journey, it was a much tougher journey, and he went through far more challenges than she did. She was literally like a Mary Sue in this story, practically capable of doing everything in one movie, whereas Luke had to go through a journey where he had to go through challenges and hardships. And I noticed this pattern quite a bit when I'm looking at stories featuring heroines, because what a lot of people don't know is that in order for me to write books like the ISIS series or the E-Steam series or many of the young adult fiction I write, I did a lot of studying and research on superhero women. I have done over a decade of research on superhero women. I read Stan Lee's The Superhero Women. I looked at the comics in there. I've read numerous comic series featuring heroines from Marvel, DC, and Indies. And again, I look at the storylines, I look at the way that these characters are written, and again, they are underdeveloped in comparison to the male counterparts. And they do not get the rich character development, the rich story development, and the depth and complexity that the male heroes get. The male heroes are willing to go through these journeys, they're willing to go through these hardships, and these female characters do not go through half of the stuff that they do, especially in this 21st century. And to see these females get defensive when I point this out clearly shows me that they do not want things to be equal as it relates to heroines and heroes. And that's just really disturbing when you think about it. You don't want to go through the same journey, but then you want the same popularity. The reason why the male heroes are popular and the reason why many of these male characters are respected is because they are willing to persevere and go through all of this hardship and adversity, and they're willing to overcome these obstacles, whereas the female characters pretty much they go through a handful of obstacles, and then sometimes they pretty much give up in between, whereas the male characters persevere. And the whole thing with heroes is we respect heroes because they earn that respect by going through all of that adversity and facing those challenges and overcoming those obstacles. And that's what endears people to those characters, and that's what makes them heroes in their mind, because they are doing the things that inspire others to overcome. And when I write heroines, I want people to see that type of challenge and see them overcoming those challenges, because that's what a hero is, a person who overcomes challenges and overcomes adversity and perseveres in the face of adversity. But when I looked at that response, who said, was getting so hostile to me, saying that, no, you don't know anything about women and all this stuff, and being hostile towards me, I look at that and I said, it's clear to me that you don't really understand what this is, because, again, being equal, if you say that you want to be a hero, then the character transformation arc needs to be equal to the men. If a female heroine wants to be as popular as a male heroine and get the types of stories that the male heroes do, and the respect that these characters get, they have to be presented in the same way. But it's clear to me that some females out here do not want to see equal as it relates to male and female heroines or character transformation arcs. And this is why many of these stories pretty much start to fall flat and fall apart, and these characters start to wane in popularity, because the writers don't want to put the characters through hardships, because some are emotionally attached to these characters, and others just are afraid of being called a misogynist or a sexist for doing the exact same thing that would make a character popular. I mean, if you're going to make the male character go through hardship, then you have to show how the female character goes through hardship. And that's what makes them a heroine, is the fact that they are willing to go through this adversity and face these challenges, and that's what endears us to them. But it's clear to me that some women out here don't want to see that. They don't want to see things being equal as it relates to male and female heroes. They don't want to see equality as it relates to character transformation arcs. And what they really want to see is stuff featuring Mary Sues, perpetual victims, and bumbling, stumbling women in costumes who are pretty much, they look pretty, but they don't actually show the grit, toughness, and resolve that really makes a woman a hero. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.